Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell, and welcome to Moscow City, the business and financial center of Moscow. And today I'm going to go and have a walk around and show you a bakery and food expo. And I think it might be interesting. I think we might see something that could be interesting for everybody. At least interesting for me. So let's go. There is actually 3 expos combined together, and I want to go and see the bakery part of it. And I've just noticed on the sign there is a confectionery expo and then a ready food expo. And what they've done, they put it all under one roof here at the expo center in Moscow City. Now this isn't the best angle of Moscow. However, you can see the big skyscrapers there, Revolution Tower on the left. It's not so nice weather today. It's overcast and rainy, so going inside is probably the best thing to do. Just in case the bakery expo is not interesting and there's not enough candy and snacks to taste, there is actually a plastics and polymer expo going on in the next building over here. So if I really get bored, I can come and learn about plastics and materials and whatever else is going on. Have a look at these residential towers right behind. These are the Capitol Towers. And if you're interested, I made an apartment tour in one of these buildings not so long ago. Coming to these expos each time, I never really know what to expect or what they're gonna have. And being that it's 3 separate events at one expo, it might be interesting to have a look at some of the different things going on. I know this part is to do with the ready-made food or prepared food. And then over here is the entrance to the main pavilion halls. It's very civilized and quiet today. Quite often when you come to expos, there is thousands of people milling around. And today it seems much more calmer. Perhaps bakers are a more calm person than when you come to some of the other expos that are held here for different specialty things. So there's going to be quite a mixture of different vendors here, and it combines together quite a few different niches in the food production industry. So you'll see even things like machines and things for baking and cooking, and mostly, of course, all industrial machines. And usually a lot of things I have no idea what I'm looking at, but I tend to learn a lot more things by the time I leave and get to the end of the video. So I really do hope you'll find this interesting. I'm actually an Australian who lives here in Moscow region, and my channel is about everyday, typical life. And I like to come to different events and cover different things that are happening here, particularly in Moscow. And if we can come to a candy and bakery expo, it has to be only positive things that will come out of this video, and I'll probably get to try a few different snacks as well. One thing I'll say walking on inside is there is quite a lot of people here, and there's always such a fascination when you come to different expos and trying to understand what's going on. And these expos are very niche. So this particular area here is talking about the bakery industry and all the different companies that make the machines that make different bakery products. And this expo really isn't designed around the general public. It's more about business to business dealings. And of course, we get to see some nice snacks as well, and some cakes, which is always good. And they will have experts or specialists from the different companies talking about what they're producing. And actually the main end point is to sell these machines and these different companies that produce them. And there's some fairly serious bits of kit here. I've even got the specs and the prices on them as well. It's really always so interesting to walk around and check them out. I also find it as a good excuse to come and learn about different industries and different segments in the cooking and baking niche. Of course, I do make a lot of videos about supermarkets. I've visited different factories across Russia showing food production. So it's really fascinating to see this at a more wholesale and industrial scale. Perhaps I need to buy myself a pizza machine. They also have quite a lot of different cooks and bakers, and they're showing and demonstrating the different machines and speed ovens that they've got. And then have a look. When you come at lunchtime to events and you start seeing food, your mouth starts to water just that little bit more. Perhaps a few people have a dishwasher at home. And have a look at this thing. It's the size of an entire kitchen. These industrial dishwashers made in Belarus. That's really interesting. They've got these just huge walk-in machines and these industrial cleaners for equipment. There really is all aspects of the food and bakery industry here, and there's different companies in very small niches in these industries. So there's companies that are just making the machines that are for the packaging of food. So you'll see different things like pasta and candy right there. And they've got the machine set up and the plant that is used for bagging the different food items. It's really fascinating how there is individual companies with very specific products. Even the baking trays and then containers for things like flour, and how such a huge industry breaks down to a single company that has just one or two items. If you're wondering where I fit into all of this video and this expo, my machine here, Russian Mix, and this company has the machines for baking and all the different individual plant that will make the bakery products from start to finish. Super interesting, and all the ladies want to get involved in Russian Mix. You'll see at the back here them actually doing the different steps of the baking process, and they've got the guys busy doing all the different processes. There really is every part of the cooking industry covered. There's a company here that just has the small containers for things like muffins and cakes, and the wholesale companies that produce them, even the sandwich covers as well, and then the different types of muffin covers. I don't know the name. If anyone can tell me what you call these when you buy something at the bakery and they come with these casings around them. Even though I am in Russia, it has right on the machine the chocolate machinery. And don't we all dream to have in our kitchen a never-ending chocolate sauce machine? I'm not sure what it's doing. I think it's mixing the chocolate sauce. There is a mini production line set up here where they are making individual chocolates. And it's really cool that they've set them up and they're running them in real time for everybody. And all of the different processes of making chocolate. Simple as that. Doesn't have to be complicated. However, these machines make it look so simple when you see them. If anybody might have watched my video where I visited a ready food factory in Kirov, I had a chance to actually see the steps and processes in making ready-made food, and a massive amount of that tour was about hygiene and health and cleanliness. And they've got a company here that actually sells and manufactures the machines that they put in the factories. And this one's actually a shoe washing roller that you pass through, and then there's a sensor here that you can wash your hands, and then it opens the boom gate to pass through. You would never think about this in real life when you see the factories and just the sheer enormity of them, and then each individual company involved in the process of building them out. There's also a company here that only has baking trays. And these aren't the ones that you put in your oven in your kitchen. These are the ones that are really on more of a industrial scale, and the different types. I'm not too sure who makes these banana-shaped cakes or bread. Somebody needs to let me know. I actually have a video running of the factory that makes the baking trays, that then makes the bread or the cakes. It's so full cycle when you come to these different booths. There's also one here that's just got the duck-shaped trays as well. Has anyone had any duck-shaped bread or bakery items before? As I've been walking around, there is quite a lot of different companies that are displaying all the different products. Of course, there is a big emphasis on baking and cooking, and some of these speed ovens right here. They might look familiar because these are the ones that they use in places like Subway. So if you've ever had your Subway sandwich toasted, these are machines that they use in different countries. This is actually from Brazil, and this is actually the Russian company that are the importer of them. It's also the pizza ovens right here. They really look like super fancy microwaves to me, but they do all have a different individual use. But really interesting that there's a Brazilian company represented with all their different machines, whatever each one does individually. So at least we have some international companies at the expo. It really is fascinating for me to walk around and then talk to the different staff at these different booths and understand what they're doing, and just the amount of people here as well. And generally when I come to expos, they're about a very specific topic and niche, and people wait to come to these events rather than visiting just one individual company for something. Coming to an expo, you get to see every company represented at the same place. So there's definitely plenty of people looking at all the different machines and technologies and what they're all doing. There's one here with the, I guess, sweets or biscuits. So these are all mock machines. They're the actual thing, but they're just running on a continuous cycle. So there's just something calming about watching these machines when you see them in operation. I think I'm too distracted seeing all the food as I walk around, and these different chefs and specialists, their main goal is to talk about the machines and demonstrate their capabilities and what they can do and the different steps for baking bread. And there's just such a interest in the processes of bread making. And these Guys right here just talking about the different steps and what their machines are capable of. Because a lot of people are here who want to buy machines, they want to set up home bakeries or at least small family-run bakeries. So many types of delicious bread. It's really interesting after talking to a couple of different staff here at this counter. So I just showed the baker making the bread here, and the machines that they're using are all German machines. And then the gentleman here in the green shirt, I was curious what he's doing with this. And he's an importer of the ingredients to make the bread. So they're importing German ingredients that go into the bread making process. And his passion for bread, and he actually speaks fluent English as well. But it's just interesting how he just captivates the people talking about bread and the love behind it. And it's just so interesting to learn about the process and how he makes it seem so simple what they're doing. But it all comes down to the ingredients and then the quality of the machines, like you see in the back here. A lot of the different companies, their main goal, of course, is to fully demonstrate all the different cycles in making different products. So they've got this whole conveyor belt set up showing the process from start to end, and the bakers here showing some of the different steps, and right to the machines at the other end over there. So you go from the dough to the final bread. And then, of course, somewhere is a salesman wanting to close the deal and sell us all these machines. I don't want this video to be about the word sanctions. And of course, a lot of people comment that in a lot of videos, particularly when I go to the supermarkets. However, it's super interesting to see, even on this booth's paneling right here, made in Germany. And they've also got the machines for producing bread and bakery products, and these bigger walk-in ovens. And it's just fascinating as I keep walking around and realizing all the different companies that are represented here. And then you can see the Spanish flag there, the Italian flag. So there's all the different companies represented. And even in light of all these different companies around the world that have left Russia, there is still a niche and an opening or an opportunity to stay here and do business, because it's such a massive industry, the bread and baking industry in Russia. And they're giving more demonstrations around the back. And you can see that Italian flag, yes, very carefully right there. Oh, and a French chef. What's he doing? A French chef with Italian machines. As I keep walking around, the amount of different companies and brands that are on display. They've got companies here that are only selling the cabinets and the racking and shelving for displaying bread and bakery items, and chillers as well. And you just don't think about this when you go to the shop or the supermarket, the amount of different companies that are involved in setting up some kind of a business. These are the refrigerated coolers for preparation of salads. And then all the glass door fridges. And then there's another company here that has the display units for bread and bakery items. So when you go to any of the everyday Russian supermarkets, these are the sort of things that you'll see on display, with all of the bread that's produced in-house and these self-serve units that they've got. I think in total there has to be more than 200 different companies that are on display here, and then the different brands. So they're are the manufacturers that are on display, and then there's also the Russian distributors of the different machinery and parts. And there is booth after booth of different companies that are selling their wares. This one just has the trays and the storage systems and all the different types of stainless steel products that are for the kitchens, and all the different ways you can build out a commercial kitchen. I just thought I saw KFC, where the company's called KFI. This is a Chinese company that has the ingredients for baking different types of products. KFI, I want some chicken. I need some help in the comments of the video, what they call these things that have the non-stop liquid running through them. I know you can get them with chocolate sauce, and then you can put the stick under them, normally with marshmallows, but this actually is pistachio butter, which is really interesting. So there's a liquid pistachio machine. What do they call this thing where you put the stick there? Please, someone let me know. I was just having a look at these different machines here, and these are ice makers, and they've got different size of machines, and they can make different ice blocks as well. So you can buy a machine specifically to make large ice blocks or small ones. We've actually got some of the different sizes right here, and then depending on what your purpose is for the ice, you can get very large blocks or little cubes, or even these circular ones, which are really cool for whiskey or drinking alcohol. I don't even know that this existed. There's a company here, this is actually from China, and they have different industrial ice machines in all sorts of different sizes. Really interesting. It's really interesting talking to the gentleman at that ice making machine booth. He's from China, and they've come here with their products to try to find a distributor or perhaps sell it business to business. And the gentleman spoke fluent English, and he even became my newest YouTube subscriber. Although it doesn't work in China, he can make it work. And just so fascinating to talk to somebody that's come here just for a couple of days for only this event, and they bring their products and are trying to find a market here in Russia. And ice machines of all things. I really do find it interesting just how many people are here. When I first arrived, it was much quieter, and once you come inside and then you have a look at how many people are at every booth, there's really quite a lot of people here. And this is actually held over 4 days, so the amount of people that will visit daily will be in the tens of thousands. And they're showing some different machines. And again, the main thing is for the different companies is to demonstrate these machines and what they're capable of and what they can do, and then show how simple it is to use them, and hopefully they can find a market and find somebody who wants to buy them. I finally managed to get hold of some bread, and I just watched the process of them making these croissants right here. And then they actually have all the steps and the machines that make it from the dough to the final product. And then as quick as they're making them, they're giving them away. But absolutely fresh pastry right in my hand. So I think I have to ask everybody, is this a French croissant? Or is it a Russian one, because it was made here in Moscow? One thing I'll say is it's very delicious, and it's still warm, but If it's made on a French machine by a French baker, is it still French? Or if we're in Moscow, is it parallel bread that I'm eating? Very interesting. As I move over to one of the other halls, they've got lots of smaller companies over here. It's quite a lot quieter than it was over at the bakery section. But there's still just so many small companies. There's one here that's producing the aluminium trays for prepared food, and where you put the cardboard lid on, and for food delivery. The aluminium is mined and then produced and smelted here in Russia, and the factory is 6 kilometers from here in Moscow region. Now when I think about Australia, we import things. We don't think that we can do this because of the economics of it, but the population in Russia allows it. And at the stand right next door, they've got bulk tomatoes, so they've got it either in tomato paste or perhaps for making pizzas, different things. And the tomatoes come from Iran, and then they actually import them and then produce and manufacture the tomato sauces here in Russia. Over in this other hall, they've got a lot of companies that have got the machines and manufacturing and packaging for ready-made food that we see in supermarkets all over the world. Obviously, they're focusing here on prepared food for the Russian supermarket trade. And this particular company here, Mondini, is an Italian company. Well, they don't quite have Italy written anywhere. They've got the green color, so they've almost got the Italian flag. However, this particular machine concentrates on the sealing of the containers once the food's inside there, and the prepared food would then go on another line where they would put the labeling on it. Then eventually it would make it to the supermarket. Now the point of this little bit of the video is I made a tour of one of the factories in Kirov, and they actually had the same prepared food that you see here up on the top shelf. So the sandwiches and the soup, and actually these machines produce or package the food for all the different supermarkets in Russia. You can see here Miratok, and then Azbuko Kuza, and it's just really interesting to see the actual manufacturer of the machines here after having visited a factory that produces all of these ready meals. And I think it'll be a very interesting video for you to watch if you haven't seen it. So I'll put a link to that, and you can have a look at one of these factories here in Russia. I actually have all sorts of different machines as I'm walking around, and each one has a different purpose or a specific way that it seals and packs the food in there. The actual tour that I did of the factory was the full line, so they actually produced the food, cooked the food, and then packaged it for ultimately selling in the supermarkets. And they've got company after company here with different steps in that process of ready food preparation, and the different machines that would cook the food or ultimately package them as well. Perhaps the Italians are very good at food packaging, or perhaps manufacturing machines that package the food. There's another one here called Italian Pack. Very simple. And they've got the flag on the machines right here. And another machine that's doing the sealing of the trays once you put them in there. So whether it's small production or on a very big scale. But the Italians are definitely here, along with quite a few other countries. Just interesting to see. I think if I walk around enough at this event, I could open my own food packaging plant, and I could find every supplier for every machine. And it's just so fascinating, because after having been to one of the factories and seen the full line production of the food to the packaging. And then you come across one of the machines here that's doing the actual labeling and the cardboard sleeve that goes on the prepared food. And this actually has the same labeling as the one from Pitorichka, which is super interesting as well. So they're actually buying these machines to then ultimately produce the food for the shops. As I'm making my way out of the ready food section, actually as I was walking in, I noticed this stand that had some of these different ketchup packets and spice packets. And then it turns out here that Igor, or George, is one of my channel subscribers.
Yeah, hello,
from
Russia. Come here, like Omega, and be happy.
So yeah, his company that he's working with here produces and supplies spices and different ketchup packets, and then these salt and peppers. And actually, the reason he recognized me is because this company supplies to Globus supermarkets, and he watched one of my videos and then he recognized me as I was walking by. So thank you so much. And it's just interesting also the name Omega. And actually when I walked past it, I thought it might have been some kind of different brand or different meaning, but it's a spice and ketchup manufacturing company. So if you've seen this in the stores in Moscow, let me know in the comments, and give everybody a big shout out to George. Thank you. As I slowly make my way out of the Bakery Expo, I really hope you've enjoyed this video and my walk around of the Confectionery Expo, Bakery Expo, and then the section that was the ready food. There was quite a lot covered in these different buildings, and I hope you found it interesting, and to show you some of the different technologies and machines and different businesses that are here, and a lot of companies that I didn't realize were here, particularly a lot of Western companies that absolutely have chosen not to leave Russia and continue trading and doing business here. And it's just fascinating to see that, you know, there's certain countries, particularly Italy, Germany, Spain, that produce these machines that are an absolute requirement in the baking industry here in Russia and throughout the world. And they're almost world leaders in the technology and the new creation of machines. So I hope that it comes across in the video. I just noticed a machine here that's called an egg breaker. I didn't see that when I was walking around earlier. There's a machine that just breaks eggs. Wouldn't that be easy just to do it yourself? Perhaps not if you're doing thousands of them at the same time. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. That'll be super nice. Post a comment. I really enjoy coming to these different conventions and learning about different niches and different segments, different industries. And I'm in a very big country that requires a lot of these companies to do business and produce food for the greater population of Russia. If you want to follow me on Telegram, the link to my channel is coming up right here. And then if you want to watch an old video on the channel, you can click this link and you can keep traveling with Russell on an old video. Okay everybody, I'm off on another adventure. Bye.